Hi guys, it's Dan here from Montane and we're out in the stunning Kentmere Valley here today. You can see the Garburn Pass behind me and maybe even a little bit of Kentmere Church as well. Now we're here today to talk to you about packing for a long distance run in the mountains or even something up to like ultra distance racing as well. Now we have a Montane Gecko 12 Plus pack here and all the kit that I'm going to be packing into the pack here today. Now if I am going anything up to sort of 10-mile kind of distance, then I don't take as much as this because I'm not going that far. I'm not overly concerned about being out for hours and hours and hours. But if we are going further into the mountains and into those more remote locations, then we need to be prepared for changeable weather conditions, for terrain changes, for potential injuries, for potentially being out there for longer times than maybe we anticipated. So today we're going to be packing all this stuff into a Gecko 12 Plus pack. Now, the great thing about having more lightweight kit and more modern equipment is that it will pack down into smaller packs, but also having a race vest pack means that it sits above the ribs. It means you can move more freely and you're less restricted as you're moving over those longer distances. So I'm going to show you my preferred way of how to pack a race pack. Now this means that I've got layers stashed away that I don't need to touch, but also everything that I need to access on the move is available and ready. Okay, so starting with this big zipped main compartment in the back. Now this is a perfect place to stash those layers that I don't need until, let's say there's an emergency or I have to stop or something that I don't need access to on the move. So I'm going to start with my big insulated jacket. Now that can go right at the bottom of my pack. I'm going to be stuffing it into a dry bag as well, so let's do that first. So next I'm going to pack something that hopefully I'm not going to be using, which is my first aid kit. Now I've decanted my larger first aid kit into a smaller stuff sack. In here we have things like paracetamol, blister plasters, antihistamines, things that are just going to keep me comfortable if something was to go wrong, and you'll find other standard first aid kit items in there as well. So lastly, into that bottom bag that I'm not going to touch, that emergency bag, I'm going to pack this foil blanket. Now these are absolutely brilliant for chucking over you if you have to stop. If you have to stop in an emergency, they will keep the heat in and they'll keep the wind off and they'll keep you drier as well. And now I'm going to roll all that down and compress it down so it sits nicely in the bottom of my bag. Okay, so next we're going to look at a second dry bag. Now this isn't an emergency dry bag, this is going to be layers that I might need access through the day, but it's not something that I'm going to need immediate access to, and I'm going to have to stop and change and take my pack off if I need to change into them. So firstly, looking at some extra layers. Now I have a long sleeve top and a pair of leggings here. Now that's going to firstly go into that dry bag. Now if I'm going into the night or if I'm going into cooler conditions, or even if I get really wet and really damp or in an emergency, then it's great to have something that you can change into, almost like a full change of clothes. Okay, next I have a spare pair of socks, which is a fantastic thing to bring along if you were stepping a big bog, if you were starting to get uncomfortable after several miles. Having a spare pair of socks can be a real comfort on a long distance day out. Sometimes on those longer days out, you may end up going into the night, so you may end up going into the dark. Even if you don't plan to, it's good to take a head torch with you, just in case something was to happen and you ended up being caught out. Okay, that's everything for that bag, so I'm going to roll that down and seal that up now. Okay, so now we've closed up the big back main compartment, we're starting to get into the accessible storage areas. Now these Gecko packs are absolutely brilliant at having loads of accessible storage, so that's things you can access on the move without taking the pack off. We have storage behind the neck, down the shoulders, down the front and on the sides as well. So I'm going to start with my hat, gloves and chief, which is going to go in this little pocket just behind my neck. So that's those really important bits of kit that if it does get cooler, if I start to get cold head, cold hands, or even need to take the wind off my neck, then I can just easily reach behind me and grab those things. Next, as we go forward, we have this hydration pouch behind, which is actually a really good place for a map. So I'm going to stick that in there, but I'm going to keep my compass so that I can have that a bit more accessible on the front if I need it. Okay, so now we're going to move around the front, but first, before I do that, I'm going to do these compression straps up. Now these are brilliant at holding all that kit in place, but even if you had it packed to half capacity, it means that you can still hold all that kit in place so it's not bouncing around as you're moving over difficult terrain or moving quickly. Okay, so now we're around the front. Now this is going to be everything that's going to be sat across my chest and around my side, so super accessible. Let's start with water because that gives the pack a bit more structure as well. Okay, so that's a litre of water we've got in the front now in two 500ml soft flasks. Now I have carried more water in these packs before, and the great thing about the Gecko packs is that they don't bounce and stretch vertically, so you can carry a heavier weights if you needed to. Next, I'm going to pack my food in, so these are going to be distributed between the zip pockets on the front and a stretch pocket on the side. So that's all my food nice and accessible. It means I don't have to stop and take the pack off. I can get everything whilst I'm on the move. Next, we're going to go into navigational stuff and mobile phone. So we have a compass and my phone, and that's going to go in the zip pockets as well. Brilliant. So that's nearly everything packed up there, but as every mountain, run, walk pack should have in it is a full set of waterproofs. Now we're using the Montane Podium waterproofs, which are a brilliant emergency layer on these milder, cooler days. If I was going to plan to run in rain for longer periods of time, or if I could see the weather was going to be bad for longer periods of time, I would take something more substantial like a spine jacket. But for today, the Podium waterproofs are absolutely perfect and super packable and lightweight. Okay guys, so that's everything packed into there for my big long distance day out in the mountains. Now this is my personal preference, this is how I've found it works best for me. Everyone may have their own different way of doing it, but this I've found is the most efficient way for myself. If I was going into an ultra race, there may also be mandatory kit lists. You may need to carry extra things like a rigid cup and like a spork, and obviously if it's going to be hotter on those days out, make sure you take sun cream as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.